Today, we are going to be talking about the Percent Allocation Default field in Project Insight. This can be found under User Profile Settings under the Resource Info tab. The Percent Allocation Default defines what percent of a given resource's workday will go towards a project by default. As you can see, on my profile, the Percent Allocation Default is set to 100%. The Percent Allocation Default is mainly informational and will not directly affect overallocation graphs on an allocation report. If we look at the Resource Allocation Report, the only value actually used in calculating overcapacity hours is the capacity value. Going back to my profile, we can see that my percent allocation default is set to 100%. Whereas going to John Doe's profile, we can see that his percent allocation default is set to 50%. Now what this does is when adding a new project resource under the Resources tab, we can see that the default allocation rate is put under the default percent allocation for every new project. However, this can range from project to project, so there is an option to change this on a project by project basis. In order to do this, you'll simply click on the default percent allocation you want to change and change it to whatever you want. So since John Doe is 50, we can change it back to 100. But for today's example, we'll change it back to 50% allocation once more. To see how the percent allocation is used on a report, we can see that my allotted work is 12 hours. My capacity is 40, so that's 30%. So it's a total allocation of 30% of my capacity. However, if we go down to John Doe, we can see that he's been assigned 8 hours. His capacity is 20, so that would mean it's a 40% allocation. For more information on the other fields, such as utilization percent, and capacity percent max, please refer to our other videos and documentation on the subject.